A parched soul is often quicker to perish from drinking the wrong poison than from a dry throat. Why is it that lottery tickets are always bestsellers in the slums rather than in the financial districts? Why are people willing to gamble a lifetime's worth of savings on a miracle elixir, advertised online instead of queuing at a hospital? The paradox lies in the fact that the emptier the wallet, the more desperate the demand to buy into hope. Desperation does not make people more lucid. It blurs the line between reality and illusion, turning the very minds that should be most vigilant into the easiest prey. It is not the wealthy, but the poor, who are the most lucrative customers for the dream of changing one's life overnight. Observe the crowds packing into windowless, suffocating halls, places where pulsing music artificially elevates the heart rate and slogans about financial freedom are chanted like sacred gospel. There, one sees a naked truth. The human brain is inherently wired for laziness. It craves shortcuts. It is addicted to dopamine, the chemical of pleasure, which is secreted the moment a sweet promise hits the ears, regardless of the actual result. The hunters have a stranglehold on this fatal weakness. They don't sell processes. They don't sell hard work. They don't sell sweat. They sell a feeling, the feeling of standing at the summit, of being envied by others, of escaping a cramped, damp, rented room to step into a polished luxury car. This is a potent spiritual narcotic. The more stagnant one's life becomes, the heavier the dosage of this drug must be. Common logic would ask why a secret to earning billions would be sold for a few million. But when the fear of the future closes in, logic shuts down, giving way to blind survival instinct. A mere glimmer of light, even a false one, is enough to make the moth dive into the flame. The hope trade has never seen a bleak day, regardless of whether the economy is in recession or prosperity. In fact, the deeper the recession, the more it thrives. Centers established under the guise of training, consulting, overseas recruitment, or financial investment sprout like weeds after a rain. Their only commonality is a veneer of glamour. Perfectly pressed suits, expensive watches rented by the hour, and photos with celebrities skillfully manipulated through software. These are all props for an elaborately staged play. Customers enter not to learn a skill, but to be hypnotized. The process always begins by weaponizing pain. The pain of poverty, the pain of being looked down upon, the pain of mounting debt. The hunter rubs salt into those wounds until they bleed, leaving the prey writhing in self-pity. Then, a lifeline is thrown out. A get-rich-quick course, a placement in a promised land with a sky-high salary, or a cryptocurrency project promised to tenfold an account overnight. The price of admission is always cleverly designed, high enough that the prey must borrow and exhaust their meager capital, but low enough for them to believe it is a bargain compared to the brilliant future ahead. The money is transferred. This is not idle cash. It is money earned through sweat and tears, money from mortgaging ancestral land in the countryside, or hot loans with cutthroat interest rates. The moment the transaction is finalized, dopamine peaks. A sense of relief spreads through the body, as if the burden of life has been lifted and the gates of heaven have swung wide. In reality, it is merely an asset transfer from the pockets of the poor to the pockets of the cunning. The service received afterward is usually a pile of hollow theories available for free online, or worse, a terrifying silence as communication channels are abruptly cut. Phantom labor recruitment centers paint visions of sitting in air-conditioned offices abroad, but instead they push workers into border jungles or underground factories where they live in constant fear of police raids. Investment groups shout, buy and sell orders, but they are actually herding the crowd into a pump-and-dump scheme so the sharks can escape. The cruelty lies in the fact that these dream sellers never accept blame. If you don't succeed, they claim it's because you haven't put in enough effort, you lack faith, or you haven't upgraded to a higher-tier VIP package. Victims are pushed into another psychological trap known as the sunk cost fallacy. Having already thrown the spear, they feel they must follow it. Having lost 100 million, they cannot simply give up. They borrow another 50 million in a desperate bid to recoup their losses. That vortex continues to drag them to the bottom of the abyss. The results are broken families, repossessed homes, and quiet deaths that go unnoticed. Meanwhile, On stages under shimmering lights, motivational grifters continue to preach about gratitude and the prosperity mindset. They talk about how the universe responds to burning desires, but they neglect to mention that the universe is inherently cold and indifferent to anyone's tears. Even more frightening is how this virus of false hope spreads. It turns victims into accomplices. Upon realizing they have been scammed, many choose to scam others to recover their capital rather than reporting the crime. Mutated pyramid schemes and fraudulent trading platforms thrive on this mechanism of referring new members for commissions. Relatives deceive relatives, friends lure friends. Social trust is eroded to the marrow. We see a society where everyone wants to be a master, where everyone wants to reap without sowing and live in luxury without lifting a finger, and where manual labor that creates real value is held in disdain. Children grow up with the distorted mindset that as long as they can talk smoothly and build a flashy image, they can be wealthy without education or skill. The values of perseverance, sweat, and the accumulation of knowledge are belittled as the mindset of losers, of beasts of burden. Looking deeper into the nature of these transactions, one sees a total transfer of risk. The dream seller bears no risk at all. They collect the money up front. The risk belongs entirely to the buyer. If the market crashes, the buyer loses everything. If they cannot emigrate, the buyer loses the deposit. If the course is useless, the buyer loses their time. Profits are privatized while risks are socialized. Those pulling the strings always know how to slip through legal loopholes using loose civil contracts and liability waivers printed in tiny font in the corner of a page. When the truth inevitably comes out, they wash their hands of it, change their names, set up a new company, and begin the process again with fresh prey. One generation falls, and another rises, carrying the same burning desire for a new life and the same fatal naivety. No miracles happen in those air-conditioned rooms smelling of cheap perfume. Sustainable wealth has never been born of ease. It comes from the capacity to solve problems, from creating value that the market demands, from iron discipline and the ability to endure pressure. But those things are too dry, too exhausting, and too bitter to swallow. No one wants to hear the truth that they must study for 10 years to earn a modest professional salary. They want to hear that a 3-day course will make them a millionaire. The truth hurts, while lies caress the wounded ego. Humans would rather believe a beautiful lie than face a harsh reality. This is a flaw in the operating system of humanity that no update can ever patch. This world operates according to the ruthless laws of supply and demand. Where there is demand, there will be supply. As long as there are those seeking instant wealth, as long as laziness reigns, and as long as the fear of falling behind haunts the collective psyche, the traps labeled life-changing will be set everywhere. One cannot blame the hunter for being cruel when the prey voluntarily offers its own neck. In this concrete jungle, alertness is the only weapon for survival. One must look past the glamorous veneer, plug one's ears against sweet words, and hold tightly to one's wallet in the face of irrational profits. Do not expect a savior to rescue your life. When a hand is reached out to pull you from the mud, be careful. It is very likely their other hand is picking your pocket, or they are pulling you up only to throw you into a deeper hole. Life is a gamble, but never bet everything on the hands of others, especially those who make a living selling snake oil and empty promises. Hope is a luxury item, and the price of admission is sometimes an entire lifetime. Poverty breeds thieves, but poverty combined with greed and ignorance breeds the perfect victims. Get-rich-quick centers do not sell knowledge, they sell temporary solace to lost souls. They sell painkillers for financial cancer. When taken, the medicine feels soothing, but the tumor remains and metastasizes even more aggressively. Look at the eyes glowing with faith in those seminars. That is not the light of wisdom, but the reflection of feverish greed. Once that light goes out, only the darkness of debt and shame remains. There are no shortcuts to Rome. There are only shortcuts to the abyss. The eternal law remains. Money is neither naturally created nor naturally lost. It merely moves from the pockets of the impatient to the pockets of the patient, from the dreamers to the realists. Do not let glamour deceive your vision. Do not let virtual numbers blur your reason. Judge people by what they do, not what they say. If an opportunity were truly that good, people would keep it for themselves or share it quietly with their inner circle. No one hawks a sure thing to strangers at a bargain price. When a steal is handed to you on a silver platter, ask yourself why you were the chosen one. The answer is usually blunt, because you are the prey, not the partner. That painful awakening is the first and most important lesson in avoiding the meat grinder of modern society. As each day passes, the sun still rises, the crowds still hustle, and new traps are set, more sophisticated, more cunning, and more psychologically targeted. Only skepticism can serve as a sturdy shield. Doubt everything, doubt overly friendly smiles, doubt ironclad commitments, doubt your own greed. Only when the fog of hollow hope is cleared does reality appear in sharp relief. And only when facing that naked reality does the true path out of poverty begin to emerge. A path that is rugged and stony, but a real one walked on your own 2 feet, rather than the back of a mythical unicorn.